What's the real difference between just being a boss and being a leader? It's a question that's launched, 1,000 books, a million debates. Well, today we're going to try and cut through all that noise. We're on a quest to find the secret ingredient of effective leadership. And we're going to journey from these old ideas of born leaders all the way to the complex realities of modern strategy. So where does a quest like this even begin? Well, it starts with one classic, fundamental question.
This is it. This is the question that has fueled decades and decades of research. And for a long time, the answer felt really simple, almost comforting. The idea that some people are just naturally born to lead, like they're gifted with this special set of traits that just destine them for greatness. That was pretty much the prevailing wisdom.
So let's start there with our first stop on this journey. We're diving right into that really intuitive idea that leaders are somehow these special individuals, born with a specific set of characteristics that just sets them apart from the rest of us.
For years, the whole search for what makes a leader was focused on creating this kind of universal checklist. The idea was, if you tick these boxes, ambition, self-confidence, integrity, well, you were considered leadership material. The thinking was, hey, if we can just identify these core traits, we can reliably find natural-born leaders for basically any situation. And of course, this whole idea got a fancy name, trait theory. It's super simple and really appealing. Leaders possess certain inherent qualities. You either have them or you don't. It kind of suggests that leadership is less of a skill you learn and more of a destiny you're just born into. But when researchers put this really elegant theory to the test, they found a very messy reality.
Okay, so this is where our simple story starts to get a lot more interesting. Because when researchers really started to scrutinize this idea, the whole foundation of the born leader myth, well, it began to show some pretty serious cracks, creating a real puzzle for everyone.
And this right here is the crucial turning point. When researchers dug into the data hoping to prove trait theory, they just hit a brick wall. That clear, simple connection they were looking for between specific traits and successful leadership, it just wasn't there.
In fact, when they looked closer, the whole theory just completely unraveled. Researchers found zero, not one, universal trait that could predict leadership in every single situation. There were landmark studies back in the day that found no consensus on what the key traits even were. Turns out the theory was way better at predicting who looked like a leader, the tall, confident type, not who was actually effective. So the quest had to change direction.
And this led to the next major evolution in our thinking. Maybe, just maybe, leadership isn't just about who you are, but it's more about how you fit the specific situation you find yourself in. It's not just the person, it's the context that matters.
This brings us to something called Fiedler's contingency model. And the core idea here is that effectiveness is all about the match. You need the right leader with the right style in the right place at the right time. So how in the world did Fiedler define a situation?
Well, Fiedler broke the situation down into three key variables. First up, do your people trust you? That's what he called leader-member relations. Second, is the work straightforward or is it total chaos? That's the task structure. And third, how much formal power do you actually have? You combine these three and you can map out basically any leadership scenario, from totally ideal to an absolute disaster.
And this is where Fiedler's main insight really shines. He found that task-focused leaders, the ones who just want to get the job done, are actually best at the extremes. When things are going great, or when they're a complete disaster, that's their time to shine. But relationship-focused leaders, the ones who prioritize collaboration, they thrive right there in the middle, in those moderately favorable situations where, diplomacy and teamwork are what's needed most.
Okay, so let's move on and see how this whole idea builds, because modern theories have shifted yet again. The focus now isn't just on managing tasks or fitting situations, but on something much deeper, inspiring profound change and action in your followers.
This quote right here perfectly captures the whole essence of what we now call transformational leadership. It's about elevating people, getting them to look beyond their own day-to-day stuff and commit to a bigger vision. But to really get it, we first need to look at its counterpart.
And that would be transactional leadership. Think of this as the management side of the whole equation. It's about clarifying roles, setting goals, and using rewards to get things done. It's a very necessary, practical exchange. You do this work, and you get this reward. Simple as that.
And here's the other side of that coin. Transformational leadership isn't about exchanges. It's all about inspiration. These leaders create a compelling vision.
They communicate really high expectations, and they empower their followers to achieve things that they didn't even think were possible.
When you put them side by side like this, the difference is just crystal clear. Transactional leadership uses tools like rewards and, watching out for mistakes. It's really about managing a process. The transformational approach, on the other hand, is all about vision, inspiration, and personal development. So one manages the work, the other energizes the people who are doing it.
But here's the real key, and this is so important. This isn't a choice between one or the other. The very best leaders aren't just managers or visionaries. To be truly, truly successful, you have to be both. You absolutely need the transactional skills to manage the present while you use your transformational skills to build the future.
So this brings all of these theories together to answer the ultimate question. How do great leaders actually use these skills to create real, lasting change? Because, let's be honest, having a vision is one thing, but making it a reality, that is the toughest job of all.
Think about it like this. Formulating the strategy, the big idea, that's often an intellectual task, done by a pretty small group. But implementing that strategy? Whoa, that's an operational challenge on a completely different scale. It's all about efficiency, and it requires coordinating and motivating a huge number of people. This is where leadership is truly, truly tested. So how do the great ones actually pull it off? Well, first, they create a real sense of urgency, making it super clear why the change must happen right now. Then, they build a powerful coalition of supporters to help lead the charge. They craft a vision that's simple and inspiring, and, this is crucial, they empower idea champions all throughout the organization to carry that vision forward at every single level. But underneath any strategy is the culture. And a leader's most profound impact is on shaping an organization's ethical framework. It's not just about what they say, it's all about what they do. Who gets promoted, what gets all the attention during a crisis. These actions, they define the real values of an organization.
So, our quest has pretty much shown us that the born leader is a myth. Effective leadership has evolved. It's a combination of vision and inspiration and adaptation. And all of it, every single theory, it all points to one single ultimate responsibility.
And that is that a leader's number one job is to implement change. We've journeyed from innate traits to situational matches, from managing tasks all the way to inspiring movements. But in the end, this quest for the perfect leader is really a quest to understand how to make a meaningful impact. So the final question isn't really about them, it's about you. What change will you lead?